The Lakers are forced into an impossible decision as following Rob Pelinka denying the trade surrounding Mark Williams due to a failed physical, the Lakers now have a huge decision to make surrounding not only who they're going to sign in the buyout market to replace Mark Williams, but also who they are going to cut. We have some rumors and reports that are revealing some wild details surrounding this decision. We're going to break all that down in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're a part of that percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 86% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed. We just hit 12,000 subscribers and we're on the road to 13,000. If you guys want to help us towards that goal, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content, uploading multiple videos a day for you all. Thank you guys for your continued support as we're going to work towards that goal of 13K. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. Now, obviously, we've been having videos surrounding a bunch of different targets, whether that be guys like Moses Brown, Daniel Tice, all these different players, and it is 100% confirmed the Lakers are going to get a center in the buyout market. However, what the Lakers need to do in order to get anybody in the buyout market is open up a roster spot, and it is going to be an impossible decision. There's a bunch of things to go over today because, quite frankly, this is going to be a bit of a different and difficult decision for Rob Pelinka. Now, we've been discussing a bunch of the targets. I've used this screenshot, a handful of times, whether it be Mo Bamba, Daniel Tice, Moses Brown, JaVale McGee, Damian Jones, all these different guys. However, this drop from Eric Pincus. By my math, the Lakers are back at 15 players, but they can waive a couple and sign 2 prorated at the min while staying under their second apron hard cap. So we can waive Cam and sign who. So there's a bunch of different things that go on here. And one, I want you guys to let me know down below who you would waive out of the current Lakers squad, because they have a bunch of different players and they are forced into this decision now because of what happened with the Mark Williams trade, because of what happened with the Hornets disaster, trying to finesse the Lakers. They are now forced into not only not being able to trade for a center and having to go through the buyout market, but also having to cut some guys here. And the most likely option is Cam Reddish. And Eric Pincus kind of hints a little bit at who they, at least who he suspects the centers to be that they, or the players they be that they cut in order to get a center. And they go with Cam Reddish and Christian Wood. And there's been a lot of discourse online specifically surrounding, Cam Reddish. It seems like he is the most likely outcome to be waived. Now, the funny thing is that when you look at who the Lakers needed before the Mark Williams trade, a lot of players and people were talking about specifically the Lakers needing a 3-and-D wing. That was the thing that they needed the most, was a 3-and-D wing. Someone to at least play some defense off of the bench, provide them a bit more versatility off the bench, especially given the fact that, we also have a couple of injury updates to go over later, but especially, given the fact that, at the time, you had Mark Williams as center, Jackson Hayes your backup center, so you're either looking for a backup center, or most likely, because Dalton Knecht was gone and some other things, you're looking for another wing, right? Now, that's not really the case, so instantly, Cam Reddish becomes the most likely to be waived here, because who else are you going to waive? There's been some rumblings about Shake Milton. We also knew at the time when Mark Williams was in theory a Laker for that brief moment, even though he's never officially a Laker, a lot of fans were clamoring for the Lakers, and even reporters, Jovan Buha, I believe it was, saying they need to replace Shake Milton's minutes. That's no longer the case anymore. They desperately need a center, and when you're talking about who you could waive, now, the conversation comes, you probably waive Cam Reddish. That is the most likely outcome here in order to open up a spot for your buyout. But let's not forget, waiving these guys doesn't open up any financial flexibility. Now, Shake Milton, who you got in the, in another trade, is all in the Dorian Finney-Smith trade, is also a possibility. Shake Milton, there's a chance they waive him. But now you have to make the decision of, out of all these guys to waive, Christian Wood. And Christian Wood is an extremely interesting case here because not only he hasn't played at all this year, and he has a pretty high ceiling. We know what we saw a few years ago with the Rockets, 16 to 17 points a game. And if you waive Christian Wood, there is a chance, albeit a small one, that he gets healthy, and he is a very solid big man when healthy, albeit not very good defensively at all. So that kind of has Lakers fans a little bit, debating with each other about who they should waive. I think ultimately Cam Reddish is going to get waived for the center, but it's a very, very difficult decision whether you're going to waive one player, 2 player. And not only is it an impossible decision, deciding who to waive. Now, yes, Cam Reddish is the obvious one, but then you have to talk about whether it be your second guy, whether it's Shake Milton or, of course, Christian Wood. You now have to make the decision between who you're going to buy out. Like, this decision is so difficult now because of this the Charlotte Hornets disaster class trade, whatever you want to call it, by not trading with, by trying to finesse the Lakers with a Mark Williams injury, because they have to decide what center will fit best. Rob Pelinka has to decide, of course, who they're going to waive. And yes, it is not going to they're definitely going to get a center, but it just starts to get extremely interesting. I saw this post here, and it's very interesting. It's from Reddit. We need to waive Wood and others, create open roster spots. Koloko and Jemison are two-way contracts that cannot play in the playoffs. Wood is injured. Maxi Kleber is injured. Some other players as well. We cannot go into the postseason with only Hayes as a center and big. Who should we waive in order to get that guaranteed roster spot? Because at this moment and at this juncture right now, you do not have a guaranteed roster spot. It's just not, because you're back to 15 now, like Eric Pincus alluded to, because of, you gave up players and now you're getting them all back. And Dalton, Knecht, and Cam Reddish, who went out in the deal for Mark Williams. It was obviously a 2-for-1 deal. So most are in agreement that Cam Reddish is probably going to be the one. There's some rumblings about maybe promoting Christian Koloko, albeit I don't think that's going to be able to happen now because you have Reddish and Dalton Knecht coming back. Let's not forget, now that the trade happened, Cam Reddish is back to being a Laker. So it's very interesting, and they're in a pretty tricky spot. You're right up against the second apron now, and when you waive one of these players, unless their contract is guaranteed, by waiving this guy, you're not going to get guaranteed cap space back. So you're going to have to sign someone at the league minimum, which we've been discussing about a ton here on the channel. So, I mean, Rob Pelinka is in a very interesting spot now. And it's one that are Lakers fans happy about? Not really. Is it going to be a very interesting few days, few weeks? Sure. But the biggest problem now is, again, making the decision. And I'm not worried about Rob Pelinka making the right or wrong decision about who to waive, because ultimately, whoever they waive, none of these guys are going to have long-term impacts on the team in all likelihood. It's about getting the right center, making the right decision there. And if they can make the right decision in order to get a center, that's the big decision here. Because if you're trying to win it this year, you need to go out and get the right guy. You have to pick the right guy. You have to hit on this buyout market. And yes, they had to hit before, whether you were trying to go, assuming they had Mark Williams, they had to make the right buyout call when it comes to Shake Milton or anything like that. But the risk was a lot lower then than it is now. You have to hit. If you go out and you miss on this guy, and then as your center, you're stuck with Jackson Hayes to finish off the season. I think Hayes is a capable center. I think alongside Luka Doncic, he could be a very interesting player. I'm not, debating that. However, I think at the end of the day, in order to make the playoffs, and of course, you're most likely going to make the playoffs. You have Luka Doncic, but in order to make a deep run in the playoffs, you're going to have to go out and make a pretty hefty move here. And I say hefty move, and it's ironic because they can't really make a hefty move. You're over the first apron, meaning, of course, you're going to have to get somebody who's below the $12.8 million that they're making. You can't go out and get one of the bigger centers, even though there wasn't really many available in the buyout market. And then B, of course, you're going to have to pick from these guys, and none of the guys that are available, we discussed them, whether it be JaVale McGee, a lot of these guys, some of them are better than others. I think JaVale McGee, Moses Brown, both of those guys fit, even Daniel Tice, they fit the bill fairly well. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make the right decision. You're going to have to make it fast, and you're also going to have to pick the right guy to waive, even though Cam Reddish seems to be the most likely outcome. There's a lot of moving parts here. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to smash that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. And let me know down below exactly what player you would waive from the Lakers side, as well as which center you would get in the buyout market. Cheers.